G'day everyone and welcome to Camping Coffee. As you can see, here I am at my caravan. This year I'm preparing to travel a fair bit, and when we go traveling, coffee is such an essential part to start the day, and it really depends on where we're at, what's happening, what kind of brewing that I would do. So I wanted to show you the three main types of brewing that I will do given the type of day we're having. So you'd have a quick brew, something that you've just going to get up and run for the day. Then when you've got a little bit more time, you might have to spend on brewing. I've got something for that. And then if I'm set up for a week long, I just want to have amazing espresso. So those three setups are in front of me here. So let's introduce them to you, and I hope it helps you understand what kind of coffee you could have no matter where you are in Australia, or for that matter, anywhere around the world. So for a quick introductory, we're going to start with our drip bags. Now, you might have seen these things. They're individual serve coffee portions in a little paper bag. And really all you need to do is open the actual packet. They come individual like this, pop it on top of a cup, and you pour hot water through it. It's as simple as that. You can give it a stir and then add some water, some cold water, cold water or milk if you need to then get that as a milky style coffee. When I've got a little bit more time, I would look straight to an AeroPress, and it's going to give us the ability to brew a couple of coffees in one go. We're then going straight to using a hand grinder and fresh ground beans. So that's going to give us a much richer taste when we're traveling, and if we've got a little bit more time or a prep space, that's definitely the way to go. On the side of the road, the drip bag's quick and easy, and you can have a beautiful quick coffee. When I'm set up for a little bit longer, I want great espresso. I want a great long black. So I'm going to take the Flair with me. Now, the Flair is just a manual brewing system, but what makes it different is it actually has an element in there to keep temperature stability. So it's just like having an amazing coffee machine. It won't froth milk, but it does beautiful espresso. So I've got all my gadgets that run with that, and we can get an amazing, perfect recipe for espresso. So the first thing we need to do for any coffee is get some water on the go. And the jet boil is the one unit which you see everywhere for campers. Pretty versatile. The burner sits inside the actual cup. It's got a good thermo sort of protection on the outside. It's got these high sort of heat fins which basically concentrate the heat from the gas burner, and it boils water really quick. You can get different types of fuel in different sizes, and when it's hot you'll see these flames. They will go a beautiful orange color. So we'll get that on the boil. I've got some water under here. So we'll pop that on. Turn on the gas. There we go. All right. So while that's boiling, I'm going to get the drip bag ready to go. Got my cup, and I've got a Fix, which is our strongest darker roast product. As it says, not for the faint-hearted, so it's not a real Italian roast, but it's definitely the darkest that we do. It's not oily or anything like that. We don't go anywhere near second crack. So open the parcel up. These are nitrogen flush, so you've got a good year's worth of expiry on those ones. Give it a little bit of a shake. It says open, so you simply tear open the pack and open the little pouch up, these little wings, and pop it straight over your cup. And you can see the beautiful fresh ground coffee in there ready to go. All we're going to do is wait for the water and we'll be able to brew. So from Artisti, we supply a couple of different drip bags. Throughout the year we change the single origin that we do. At the moment this is a Las Flores. It's an anaerobic fermentated coffee. It's really tasty. In the mix pack you get 4 of those. You get 4 of our Champion Blend and 4 of the Fix. That's our most popular one, so jump online and grab those if you want to sample them all. And then you can buy the 12 pack of each individual type when you know which one you love the most. So really convenient, small portions, but 12 is going to get a couple of people enough coffee for a weekend. So the jet boil is boiling away there. I'll turn that off. All right. And you can see that hot color there, the orange, showing that the water's boiled. So Bit of safety there. If you've got kids hanging around, they'll know that that's hot. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pour 3 times through the drip bag. And on the first one, what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a smuttle up. So let me grab a nice stirrer. A little bush stirrer is always handy. So once we pour in that first amount of water, okay, we want to get those gases to come out in the bloom. So if you give that a bit of a stir, like I'm the only one that's going to drink this coffee, so I'm pretty comfortable with a stick there. There we go. And let that soak through. So that's like your first bloom stage. You've got great saturation on all of those coffee grinds. We're going to do another second pour and fill it right up to the top. And you can still see some of those gases coming out a little bit. Let that brew and soak through. So you can either have this a bit lighter, like a pour over or a V60 style coffee, just by letting this make its way through a couple of times. I'm going to do 3 pours here and let that brew all the way through. Now, if I wanted to have, I said, like a mild coffee, I just pull that bag out now. But if you want to get a little bit more intensity to it, we need time to allow some of those flavors to then start to leach out. So I like using a nice small camping style mug like that. These are our little Adventure Await Artisti cups. They're pretty cool. And once that's brewed through for that 3rd pour, I'm going to top it up one more time so that that coffee is actually sitting in water. And that will allow it to keep filling up. So just keep going until the actual bag ends up soaking in the water. There we go. And I'm going to let that sit for no more than 3 minutes, because once you start going past the 3-minute time, you're going to start to leach out some of the bitterness and the undesirable flavors that we don't want. So you can see there, it's brewing away in that water. So always got to taste your brews. Look, that's great. That's got plenty of body because it is that fix. It's a darker roast. This would be better with milk, there's no doubt. I do love a black coffee. I tend to go the single origin or the champion blend, but that's tasty. That's gonna get me going for the day for sure. I can't drink 3 coffees, so I'm done with this one. Now let's brew our beautiful AeroPress. Okay, the one good thing about a jet boil is by the time you've boiled your water up, you're ready to brew. So I've got that on the go, and we've got our trusty AeroPress. Now, these are probably the most versatile coffee brewers on the market. They're unbreakable, they come in 2 parts, and they're basically a big syringe. Now, I love using the metal filter. They do come with a paper filter, but that's going to give a cleaner, more crisper cup. So if that's what you're looking for, use the 350 papers that come in the box. If you want to get more body and the coffee oils into your cup, grab yourself a metal one. They're about another 25 bucks, and that's going to give all those oils into the cup. So we always use the inverted method, which is basically popping it like this. The cool thing about this next brewing is we get to use fresh beans. So I've got my little hand grinder. I'm going to fill it up. These are the little Rhino compact hand grinders that actually sit, I should show you that, they actually sit inside the AeroPress. So when you're traveling, you can have this really small, compact brewer. Look at that, that is great for a backpack. Whip it out and you can have fresh ground coffee. So that's the grinder that matches the AeroPress. Now, really handy. So I'm gonna fill up my grinder with fresh champion beans here. Look at that, I got sidetracked, the water beat me. But that's okay, we always want water to go off the boil a little bit. We want to get it down to about 94 degrees. So it's okay to let your water sit for a moment before you brew your coffee. All right, as I say, fresh is always best. There is our champion beans. Now you've got a little catch pot on the bottom. Woo, got it, a little bit windy here today. Might lay that one down, which will catch all our grinds, and they do come with a manual handle. So pop it on and enjoy the process. If you get a little impatient, grab yourself your drill And it's just the normal standard connector that you'd put any other bits and pieces on from a drill. And if you pop it on, it'll fit straight on. And just keep it nice and slow, but you'll be able to grind a fair amount of coffee quite quickly. Give it a stop and pop that into your AeroPress. Now, I know if I've filled up this grinder, I can make 2 beautiful coffees or one strong one by using the full amount of beans that's in here. So I'm just going to quickly grind that off. And the grind setting on this is not as fine as it's going to be for espresso. So it's a little bit coarser, but it's definitely not a paper filter or a plunger grind setting. So I'd head towards the finer grind settings than being too coarse. There we go. So there is our grind. That is all done. Now, if you feel it getting a bit too hot, you are going too fast. So maybe stop, let it cool down, but that's not too hot at all. You can melt the whole grinder if you just go flat out. So now we're ready to add our water to our coffee. And on the AeroPress, there are 4 settings. So really that allows you to have some sort of recipe, either 1 part coffee to 4 parts water. It's really up to you. I find that if I just have it at the lowest setting where the black plunger is just coming out on the bottom, and I use the full chamber of ground coffee and I fill it right up to the top, it's the perfect recipe for me to have 1 really strong cup or divide it into 2 different cups. So we're going to start by pouring in a bit of water, and we want to get the gases out. So we're going to do a bit of a bloom. So we're going to pour that halfway. We're going to grab our trusty bush teaspoon again and make sure we give that a really good stir. Get all those grinds wet. And then fill it back up to the top. We're going to pop in either your paper or your metal filter. Lock it off. And you're going to let that sit again for 3 minutes. So if you go too long, this is an immersion brew. So we've got coffee that's floating around inside the water. So it is really starting to leach out more flavors. And that's sort of the second half of the drip bag I did. I basically did a pour over and then made it into an immersion brew by filling it up. But because this has total contact time with the water, you don't want to go past like 4 minutes is max. I hear a lot of people are brewing plungers and they're letting them sit in there for 10 or 15 minutes. You're just getting all this bitterness that you don't need. So 4 minutes is great. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you do have that cap on nice and tight. If we just press that down a little bit, it's like a syringe. We need to get the air out, and you'll see the coffee starting to come through. There we go. And it's a matter of grabbing your cup, getting rid of your water out of it, popping it on top, and then inverting it. And we're going to press down nice and evenly and flat so that that water now gets basically pushed through the coffee, but not like an espresso. It's more like separating it. So just push down, and the finer you go, the harder you're going to have to press on that coffee. But it's also the richer the flavor of the coffee that you're going to get. So I've got this pretty fine at the moment. I must admit there's a little bit of pressure on there, probably more than most people would do. At least I know the bench is nice and sturdy and it's holding it up. So when you get to the end, you will hear a bit of a hiss noise as that air just presses all that water and coffee out. Okay, and we're done. There we go. All right, so again, hot black coffee. You can then separate that into a couple of cups, add a bit of dash of milk or cold water, whatever you need to do. The good thing about the AeroPress is the cleanup is really simple. You can just remove your cap. If you've got your metal filter, they just slide off nice and easy, so pretty clean. With a quick rinse, that's actually ready to go and brew again. And then you've got your coffee puck, and you can simply, if you've got maybe a fire or a bin, you can just shoot that out, a little quick rinse. And because the syringe is so tight, that cylinder is clean and you're ready to brew again. Let's taste the coffee. It does smell a little bit richer, there's no doubt there. We've got fresh beans as well, and this is the Champion, so it is a different coffee than what I used in the drip bag. Look, it's a lot sweeter, there's no doubt. We've extracted a lot more out of that coffee with that little bit of extra time and leaching through and a little bit of that pressure from the finer grind. It's a much richer, stronger coffee. That's going to hold up quite well with milk, or if you're a black coffee drinker, you're going to be so stoked having that as a brew to start your day. Not a problem. That's great. So that brings us to my last coffee setup, which is the Flair 58. Again, we're going to need some boiled water, so I've topped that up and we'll get that going again. We get to use fresh ground beans again. Now we've got to make an adjustment to a much finer grind on our grinder. Going to top that up again with some fresh beans. Okay, and we're going to use our drill again because it's a lot quicker. The other thing I've got to point out is, because we've got the electric heating element here, I've turned that on and put it on to number 3, the third light, and that's going to start to heat up the element in here, which is also heating up our group handle as well, because you do want to have a nice hot group handle when you make espresso. So that's all warming up, ready to go. Just check how much I've got. Oh, could do it just a little bit more there. Okay, so that's nice and warm. I'm going to pop out my handle, and as with any good recipe, we need to make sure we've got the right amount of coffee. I'll turn that off. I'm going to pop my coffee basket down and turn on my scale. And we're going to get 22.5 grams of coffee into our basket. All right, so we're halfway there, 12.2 grams on that one. All right, that beep was the Flair telling us that it's up to temperature. Oh, so close. Fourth time's a charm. There you go, 22.5 grams and nothing left. So we're going to pop that into our group handle. Before I click that in, I'm going to pop on a Flair funnel. So you would have seen these in our channel for sure. Pop the basket in place, and we're going to do some WDT. So that'll just cut up all of the variants of the grinds give it a much better extraction. So some deep WDT. It does fluff up, and that's why we have to have the funnel on the top there. You can see that grind would be going everywhere if I didn't have that. Now I'm going to do some middle WDTing, and then you can finish off with the top and just get that all nice and smooth. Get rid of any of those lumps. You can do forward, backwards, left and right, whatever you choose. Just make sure that you're consistent in what you do. There we go. So it's all fluffy. So I'm going to give that one little tap just so that I can take the funnel off. We've got our NCD here again, which is going to distribute the grinds. We're not tamping with this, we're just distributing that around. Pop it in. Give yourself the distribution. And then you got your tamper. So give that a nice flat tamp. And I give it a little twist. You know, a lot of people think that's a good or a bad thing. A lot of, you know, technique differences, but you know what? I reckon just firm, flat, so it's nice and polished. Making sure it's flat and level is the key. The Flair 58 does come with their puck screen. I've been using these for a while now, and it allows you to grind so much finer when you're doing an extraction, and the coffee puck's not going to lift up and do a flush shot. So there's a lot of benefits to the puck screens there. So pop that in on top of the coffee bed. We now need to lock in our handle. Just raising it up a little bit will allow you to lock that in, and then press that lever back down. We're then going to fill up the top chamber. I'll pop my cup in and under and tear that off. So we're going to fill up the top chamber. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can actually remove the whole top section, but I find I can pour in from the side, so I'm pretty happy just doing that from the side of here with the jet boil. And you can see the element there is definitely keeping that water nice and hot. So there we go, we've got a hot water chamber with great fine ground coffee, and now it's up to us to provide the pressure of that extraction. You could do a full 9 bar, a 3 bar, whatever you like. You might want to come around this side if you're going to see what's happening on this extraction. So you lift the lever up, and you can do just a little pre-infusion if you wish, just to soak that coffee nice and gentle. And then we can go all the way up, load up the piston again with water, and then provide a whole range of different pressure on top of that coffee bed. There we go. So this is a nice slow sort of 3 bar pressure. Go a bit harder up to say 5, or drop it back down, whatever you choose. And we're just going to run our full shot nice and gentle all the way through there. Okay, and lifting that up, it stops the shot. I've gone at 40 grams on this one, so it was just a little bit under. My pre-infusion was quite a big pre-infusion, but I got 40 grams of rich espresso. Look at that, that is so thick, so syrupy. Now, there is no doubt I could go finer again on that grind. And that's what happens when you do spend time using a WDT or your NCD and getting great distribution. You're basically getting rid of any channeling. So you basically are creating the perfect bed for that water provide the resistance. So I find with the Flair, definitely make sure you use your puck screen and grind finer. You're only going to get a richer, more tastier espresso. So that's going to be pretty hot. It smells great. It's definitely rich. It's juicy. It's great. I normally have a long black, so I would probably put some hot water in there first and then run that espresso on top. But that is definitely a syrupy, thick. It's quite molassesy, this one. There's plenty of body in that coffee as well. I reckon a bit finer, we might just get a little bit more complexity there in some of the acids coming through in that coffee. Whew. Anyway, that is a rich, nice espresso. Now the thing to point out about the Flair is it's only 96 watts of power. That is a small amount of power when you're thinking maybe in my caravan, I want to run my, Breville coffee machine or whatever. If you're in a caravan park, that's fine. You've got a mains power supply. But if you go bush camping, you're going to have to get batteries, inverters, and a fair size to be able to run a coffee machine. Where the Flair at 96 watts, some of the cars, like the Land Cruisers here, actually have their inbuilt 100-watt inverter. So you could actually run this Flair straight off your car, which is amazing. So that's one of the reasons why I want to look to take this with me around Australia. It's gonna make it so much easier for me to have coffee anywhere I go. I hope this has given you a good insight as to how you can enjoy wonderful coffee no matter where you are. You've got a quick solution with a drip bag that you could brew on the side of the road. All you need is your mug, hot water, and the bag. When you've got a bit more time, you could use your AeroPress and get that richer, stronger flavor out of that cup and brew more than one coffee at a time, perhaps for you, your partner, and your friends. And if you set yourself on a beach somewhere staying a bit longer and you want that true espresso taste, look, the Flair is something you should consider to get that rich coffee. And again, it's only for espresso, it doesn't cover milk, so you may look to get yourself a little milk frother or something like that, a manual one that might help you do your cappuccinos or frothy milks, but that's going to give you a classic, beautiful, rich espresso pretty much anywhere. You don't have to grab all the gadgets I've got there, you could just use what you have at home, but definitely focusing on doing some good coffee puck preparation is only going to allow you to make that unit work to the best it can. So thanks very much, guys. I'd love to hear how you brew coffee now. Look, I know a lot of people have been using plungers and stovetops for many years, but is there something else out there that you're loving while you're camping? I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the comments below. I want to know what you're brewing, how you're brewing it, and what your favorite coffee is. So thanks very much for watching, everyone. Any questions on any of this, shout out. I will happily answer them, and we'll catch you next time. Cheers.